It's been a really exciting past couple of years for platformer fans, dude. Every time we think the genre's dead, they just keep bringing it back. A lot of new faces giving it their best shot, as sometimes they fumble a little bit, but hey, they stick with it, and because of that, we've been seeing some seriously good platformers in the second half of this generation. And to end things off, one of the most legendary faces in the entire world of platforming finally gets a proper comeback. No, not the remakes, no, a brand spanking new game. Crash Bandicoot 4, dude! Now, a lot of people ask me why I never talk about the Crash Bandicoot games, and well, I got a confession to make. I never really cared about Crash Bandicoot, like, at all.
What do you mean you don't like Crash Bandicoot?
No, yeah, like, I get it. Like, I'm the platformer man, you know, like Mario, Banjo, Rayman, Ratchet, Spyro, Ty, Sly, Gex, Vex, Sphinx, Blinks, 40 Winks. Y'all even got me out here playing Kaya Dark Lineage and Haven Call of the King. I've played and beaten way more platformers than most human beings living on this earth. I love this genre to the moon and back. But, I don't know, I just never really got Crash Bandicoot. And listen, before you get mad and go down to the comments and tell me why I'm wrong, just hear me out. Okay, let me take you back. I'm like 6 years old. I know 2D platformers very, very well, but 3D platformers? That's the big new thing. And Mario's whipping out these big open levels, the complex, hugely varied moveset that allows you to explore the whole thing to your heart's content in every which way you can imagine. Then Banjo freaking Kazooie comes out. He's got the same thing going on, but with more focus on the writing and the puzzle solving. You're learning all these ridiculous moves to uncover more of that level to find those hidden jiggies. Rayman 2 comes out swinging with these linear stages that still have a lot of open-ended design, and projectile-based combat that had you jumping around just as much as the platforming did. Spyro's got you charging around these huge, gigantic, colorful levels, meeting the world's inhabitants and exploring it all for every little nook and cranny, grabbing those crystals and soaring around, firing up anybody in your way. We got this brand new, huge 3D space, and these boys are out here making the most of it. But, you know, then my 6-year-old brain looks at Crash Bandicoot, and I don't know, you're just going down a straight hallway with the most basic jumping imaginable, and I don't know, it just didn't make any sense to me why anybody would prefer this over this, or this, or this, like it's no contest. And let's make one thing clear, I do not think these games are bad, not at all. I just never understood such monumental freaking hype over something so rudimentary, while everybody else at the same time was out here innovating. We've been doing the whole linear hallway thing for a long time now, and now it's time for something bigger and better, and to me, Crash just wasn't that. I got the Insane trilogy back when it was new, and I beat Crash 1, I played a little bit of Crash 2, I thought they were fine, you know, they're pretty fun, but they still didn't really grab me in the same way that a lot of other platformers do. And listen, I'm not trying to be some sort of contrarian, you know, I'm not gonna sit here like some arrogant YouTube prick telling you that I'm right and you're wrong. I like to imagine I'm a fairly open-minded person. You know, I'm always looking for the best qualities in games. Not just good games, not just bad games, but also games I don't get. And that sounds like something I could have a lot of fun doing. While kid me wrote it off as the dumb linear game that couldn't even come close to Mario, adult me kinda wants to figure out what exactly people do love about this series. Like, come on, it's Crash Bandicoot. There's gotta be something here I'm not seeing. So I decided to give the Bandicoot another chance with Crash Bandicoot 4. I wasn't like anticipating it coming out or nothing, I just kinda saw it on the shelf a couple of weeks later and picked it up because I thought, why not? Toys for Bob did an amazing job on that Spyro trilogy, and I really liked that. So, you know, seeing them be the ones to handle it this time got me interested in giving the series another chance. Alright, so now all I need is somebody that actually likes the series to help me out with it.
Well, James, I'm glad you asked. I have the perfect guy for you.
Yeah, Brady!
So let's get this all squared away.
What I liked about Crash is it felt similar to DK Country. You know, like how Mario had all these cute characters, but Donkey Kong's got these big ugly Kremlings. Crash was similar. Here was a game that had cruder characters and that felt really fresh at the time. Crash was all about dethroning Mario with his edgy 90s attitude, but when you actually play the games, he's this absolute goof. There's so much great banter between these characters, like, I still quote these characters all the time. You got these challenging levels full of secrets and collectibles. It was all about testing your skills. I get that you like big open worlds and stuff, but to me, Crash felt like a 3D version of Donkey Kong. Not like DK64 4, but a version of challenging side-scrollers that made use of the 3D space. Not everyone needs to innovate with 3D. Like you said, tons of games already did that. Crash was more about using the 3D space to flesh out the kinds of games we were already playing in 2D. So yeah, you do just go straight, but they make that fun with challenging level design that tests your reflexes.
So, like, you're saying I should think of it as a side-scroller, except instead of this way, it's like that way.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, that actually kind of makes a lot more sense to me now that you put it that way.
And you like side scrollers?
I love them.
All right, so with Crash 4,
Yeah.
instead of Mario 64, think DK Country, but that way.
That way.
Yeah.
Well, enough talk. Let's get into it. Crash 4. Oh, what the hell? Oh no, is this the paperwork? Am I finally getting sued for not liking Crash? Is that what this is? Real talk though, like why do I have to read through 20 pages of software license agreements and 24 pages of privacy policies? I swear to God, some companies are hell-bent on making the most fun medium there is as corporate and lifeless as they possibly can. Jesus Christ, Activision. We're more than just numbers, dude. We're people. I want to play a video game. The story picks up from the end of Crash 3 where... Brady, what happened at the end of Crash 3?
So Cortex and Entropy are turned into babies and sent way back into time.
Into babies?
Yes.
Okay.
And you notice the tally marks, yeah?
Yeah, I figured that was like a reference I didn't get or something.
Well, it's been about 22 years since the third game came out.
Yeah.
22 tally marks. It's about time.
No.
Yes.
The classic cast of scientists, or are they scientists? I don't know. They discover a way out of their prison in the past, opening up time rifts and planning to use them to rule the space-time continuum. Cortex is once again playing second banana to their new leader, Entropy. I kind of like how they're just going to casually name a character after what's like, objectively the worst concept in the entire universe.
Well, you know, his whole thing is time and space, so it makes sense. Crash 3 had a lot of time stuff involved in the plot, so we're kinda seeing the natural follow-up to that.
So it's now up to Crash and friends to round up the 4 quantum masks, close the quantum rifts, and stop these nefarious nitwits from manipulating the space-time continuum. Whoa, the animation in some of these cutscenes is really something else, dude. I mean, like, I knew Toys for Bob already had a killer art department after, like, seeing how much work went into some of those animations and characters in the Reignited trilogy, but even still, like... Wow, dude, this is on another level. These characters move with such rhythm, like every sentence that leaves their mouth, it's pushed all the little further with every movement and expression.
We have a thing where we fight, he loses. It's a well-established dynamic.
Not this time. I've got a backstage pass.
Like, are you seeing how bouncy and fluid he is with everything he says? Like, holy crap, dude. There is so much personality here, man. Like, the way they act and speak. A lot of the writing got some good laughs out of me, too.
Follow.
Short and to the point. Love this guy.
See, this game's got good characters.
Yeah, like, I see why you and Kevin quote the game so friggin' much now, yeah.
Crash, crash, crash. Why must you always muck in my mud?
Neocortex, Crash 3-1.
Take your word for it.
Better.
And here we are. Alright, so the game plays quite similarly to the original trilogy. Movement is primarily forward, with hallway-like level design. You've got crates you can break or bounce off of, tons of big ugly enemies to smash through, and obstacles galore. There's a couple more moves than I remember. In addition to jumping and spinning, Crash also has a slide move for getting under tight gaps. Jumping out of the slide will have Crash enter a high jump. You can even jump out of it after sliding off a ledge, like storing the jump for a second to get as much distance as you possibly can. Just like jumping in DK Country after rolling off a ledge.
See? I told you it's like Donkey Kong.
Yeah, like I'm starting to see where you're coming from, like especially the way you bounce off of enemies, that also feels kind of similar. What else do we got? There's also a double jump that gives you more height and control, but at the cost of hindering your forward momentum. Okay, this is probably one of my favorite double jumps ever. I don't normally like double jumps that much because, I don't know, I find it gives too much control to the player. When you can just cancel all the momentum you left the ground with and just reset midair each time, well, now every jump feels exactly the same. You jump towards it, and then you jump again midair to make sure you land, and you always land. Where's the challenge in that? I mean, could you imagine how easy and uninteresting Mario 64 would have been if you just had a double jump? If you look at all of Mario's different moves, or I guess Kevin just drew me here, you'll see that you can get a lot of different results with just the combination of 2 or 3 inputs. And that's just something that's always really clicked with my big dumb bionicle gamer brain, you know? Like, I really love thinking about the movement, how things interact, how things snap together. And the more elaborate the movement, the more freedom you have to piece these moves you need to any given situation. And being able to do all of that in multiple ways is a huge part of the fun. To me, this is absolute freedom. Sometimes a side flip into a wall might work, or maybe you'll whip out the triple if you got enough room to do it, or maybe try a safe backflip if you don't. And then you start talking about skill ceilings. You know, the better you get, the more creative you can get. Backflip into a wall jump, boom, I'm up there now. That's what it's all about. If you could just get past every single obstacle with this one ultimate move that solves everything, you wouldn't have any incentive to use any of the other moves, and the game wouldn't be nearly as fun to play. Because now I don't have to get up to the pyramid like this, or maybe like this, or any single way that I can personally think of myself and feel achieved for doing. No, I just jump and jump again, and I land. And that's boring as hell. Crash Bandicoot 4, on the other hand, this is a game that understands everything needs a trade-off. Otherwise, you might fall into the trappings of having a move that feels good to execute, but also underlies the level design itself. You need moves that can work with the obstacles, not ones that can inherently defeat everything you design with ease. When you pop out that double here, Crash slows down, effectively cutting your momentum in half, so you can't use it to get your way every single time. It will affect the timing with moving obstacles, and it will affect the distance you go. I'm actually pretty impressed with this. I just hate how OP double jumps feel in a lot of games, but this one's tweaked really well to avoid the problems I usually have with them. And I mean, Crash is a precise game after all. You do need to make those micro adjustments, but they struck a balance here that lets you do that without making the game too easy. They give you a lot of control, but they don't give you too much control. Balance. It's so wild. Like, I only ever beat the first one, and I remember feeling really underwhelmed by the moveset, but no, like this is way more than that. This is what I'm looking for in games like this.
Yeah, like, Crash 1 wasn't the best of examples.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's the first game, and by the end of Crash 3, there are a lot more moves.
Okay, I didn't realize that. I just assumed that you were doing this, like, normal-ass jumping without any other moves the whole series, but, like, I guess that's why you don't judge a whole series based on the first game. I gotta not do that. This is what I'm talking about. While the linear design may feel very controlled at first, the moveset still gives you the freedom to tackle each obstacle how you see fit. Again, it's not as elaborate as Mario, but those moves are more fit for open world exploration. These moves are designed for tight linear challenge. And boy does it work. The game gets really interesting once they start to introduce those quantum masks, these mechanic altering power-ups. There's 4 total, each one giving you a different ability, 2 of which affecting how Crash functions, and the latter 2 affecting how the environment functions. The first one's probably my favorite one, Lani Lowly, voiced by the legendary and hilarious Richard Stephen Horvitz.
Hey, Aku, how's it go? Is that a quantum rift?
His reaction, he's just...
Like, the animation really sells it. Are you okay?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Just making sure. When you got this poor guy stuck to you, the right shoulder button will materialize and dematerialize those blue platforms, popping them in and out as you make your way across. Think like maybe the beat blocks from Mario Galaxy, or those panels that swap whenever you jump in 3D World. It's kind of like a faster take on that sort of idea. So you jump, you pop the platform in, you jump again, pop that wall out, pop the landing, you jump, you pop, jump, pop, jump, pop. Holy crap, is this ever fun! Especially the levels where it gets hard. Oh my god, this is the kind of stuff I love to see. The second mask allows Crash to turn into a purple vortex, the dark matter spin. And this will give you a lot of height with a slow descent at the cost of the controls being a little looser, a little more slippery. With this, you can soar over large gaps with well-executed jumps. Popping this thing in after a quick jump, oh my, it was giving me muscle memory flashbacks to Mario Sunshine. You know how you like jump every time right before the rocket goes off, but here, that spin will keep the momentum from that initial upward kick. Ooh, it feels good. The physics on this thing, dude, I had a lot of fun with it. Next up, we got time.
I'm time! I see everything! And I mean everything.
Just watching poop, bud.
Good, you can see how sick I am at Mario 35, dude. What, do you not play games when you're pooping?
Yeah, but more or less like Smash Brothers or Fortnite.
Why is Mario 35 like less normal than Fortnite or Smash Bros?
Battle shits.
What? This one slows down time. Pressing a right shoulder button will have everything around you come to a crawl for a brief moment. Platforms, obstacles, pretty much anything. Really good for anything on a timer too. And since it's brief, that creates a lot of situations where you have to time your use of time. You can't just have everything stay slow, you only get a window. So just like the flip swap mask, it's all about making those jumps while considering something else too. Not as cool as the previous two in my opinion, but hey, it's still super fun and adds a good bit of challenge. And the last one swaps gravity. You press a shoulder button and you'll be walking on the ceiling. I find this one can be a little bit clunky, since it's sometimes hard to tell where you're gonna land with the angle, but it does work really well in the 2D sections, especially parts where you gotta swap gravity mid-jump to gently glide around some obstacles, and this is where they use it most of the time, which is cool. It means they understand exactly where this mechanic works, and they didn't force it into places where it didn't. That is thoughtful design. The game explores variety even further with 3 new playable characters, Tana, Cortex, and Dingodile, each of which have a different moveset that'll change how you approach any given stage. Tana's pretty similar to Crash and Coco, except you got a grappling hook and a wall jump. I don't really think these add a ton to the actual gameplay though. It is cool having a little gadget, and I do like how you can stun enemies and stuff with it, but the actual grappling mechanic can really just be boiled down to simply pressing a button when the game tells you to press the button. It's pretty fun, but not as interesting a mechanic as some of the others in my opinion, and the wall jump is also that kind of snap into place, just hit the button, the game does it for you sort of wall jumping. Not as cool as some other games have done. Overall, Tana's okay. Dingodile, on the other hand, ooh, I really like this guy. I don't even know who this guy is, but damn is he fun to play as. He's got a big leaf blower for vacuuming stuff up and spitting it back out. Plowing through these piles and piles of crates is so freaking satisfying, and I really like being able to shoot out a TNT crate at enemies and obstacles and stuff. Dingo's got a really cool glide move too. You start using the vacuum to hover and let go of the button to pop out and do a double jump. Like, you ever play Tony Hawk and you hold down the button to crouch and you let go when you're ready to pop an ollie? Feels just like that. As weird as that is to say, except instead of crouching, obviously, you start the hover and you let go to pop out whenever you want. And of course, the trade-off being that you can't use it for attacking while hovering. It is just one object after all, you can't do 2 things at once with it. And that will leave you open to attack. Again, they're thinking about that balance. They're making sure not one move is OP. His whole subplot about trying to keep his diner open was actually really charming and fun. God damn, this dude's big and weird, and he's probably my favorite character, at least out of the 3 alternate ones. Oh, and speaking of, lastly, we got Neo Cortex, the only character that does not have any sort of double jump. Instead, he's got this forward dash move, which I really like. Stop. You see that right there? You see that? That little hang time animation. Absolutely brilliant. It gives you a brief moment to recalibrate yourself in case you slightly over or undershoot a platform. This is a really good way to avoid any annoying or clunky deaths, but without giving the player too much control, making it super easy to land every single time. Again, it is very evident to me that they considered a lot of trade-offs in order to keep the game simultaneously challenging and fair. We've also got a little blaster ray gun thing that you can use to turn enemies into platforms. 1 shot makes them a normal platform, 2 shots make them a bouncy platform, and 3 shots will turn them back to normal, which you can use to move them if they're not in the right spot. This is actually really cool. I like this idea a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
Cortex is like the least popular character to play as.
Really? This is a lot of fun though. That's surprising. Okay, so remember Mario Sunshine, this one mission here where you had to squirt the Yoshi juice at these fish and that would turn them into these platforms you had to ride up there? Remember how confusing and nonsensical a mechanic that was, even if it was a cool idea? This feels like the actual version of that. They thought of a context where it actually makes sense and then created levels that take much better advantage of it.
See, sometimes Crash does stuff better than Mario.
Yeah, I mean, you got me there. I do have to give it credit where credit is due. This is very well done. This multi-character dynamic is something I really do like. Again, it gives the game a lot of variety, and if you ask me, when it comes to platformers, variety is usually best enjoyed within a similar playstyle. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you remember games like Spyro 3 where they try so many different ideas that completely deviate from the main gameplay. It just turned into why do I gotta do it like a shooting level as a monkey man? I don't want to. This is a fantastic example of how you can execute variety without changing what the main gameplay is all about. Multiple characters can have a lot of potential, as long as they're handled well. I think that's a big part of the criticism towards Sonic Adventure 2. People just want to be Shadow and Sonic. The other character types are still about platforming, yeah, but there's a lot about them that makes it kind of stop feeling like a Sonic game. This is how I like to see it done. The characters are different, they got different moves, but the goal is the same, and it never stops feeling like Crash.
What do you think about the option of having lives or not?
Oh, dude. Really clever idea. I think that was legitimately smart of them to do. There's a lot of debate around whether or not lives are an outdated idea. They originated in the arcades where you had to exchange quarters for how much you could play the game, and there was a satisfying balance there. The more you played, the more you learned, the better you got, and the more you could get through it by spending less money. That's kind of what video games were to people growing up back then, and that carried on over to home consoles as a way to make games more difficult so they could last longer or whatever. So in that sense, I do agree that it is an outdated concept, because the context in which we play games is different now. We don't need lives to make a game challenging, because lives made them challenging for those reasons. Nowadays, there's a lot better ways to challenge a player than giving them a finite amount of tries and then deleting some progress so they didn't meet the criteria, because punishing the player is not equivalent to challenging the player. Those are two different things, and they're not as strongly knit as people seem to think, because dying a lot, that's learning a lot. Celeste and Meat Boy, again, they're my two go-to examples. They're two of the hardest platformers I've ever beat, and they let you try each part of the game as many times as you need to. And now that I've developed those skills because I had the time to practice as much as I wanted to, I can now plow through these games start to finish effortlessly, and it's still a blast to do that. I did not need a life system to punish me for my mistakes to drive me to do that. Crash 4 benefits immensely from taking this direction. And none of the levels are so hard that I don't think I could have got through them with 4 lives or less, but the fact that I just didn't have to worry about that and I could try each sequence as many times as I felt like and practice until I could fly right through it, that felt good. I didn't have to stress about doing the whole level over, and that drove me to practice. Also, when I'm getting all the collectibles, I jump off the ledge and die a lot on purpose when I miss a crate just so I can go back, and having to do the whole level over because I did that 3 times, that would just be really, really annoying.
You can say that again. That's how it was in the old games. If you were on your last life and you missed one you couldn't go back to, great. Guess I'm doing that all over again.
I think having a gem at the end of the level for the people that die 3 times or less, that's a much better alternative. Now, the challenge is controlled by the player, not the developer. Depending on what you want to go for and how invested you are in the game, it can now be as challenging as you're willing to make it. And of course, that feeds back into having the old school option to have lives. Like, that is still there. You can still control that. I think more precise modifiers like this and optional challenging goals to pursue, that's a much better way to control difficulty than a simple easy, medium, hard that just changes the numbers, right? I do personally think lives have run their course, and it's games like Meat Boy, Mario Odyssey, and this one that made me realize just how much I do like playing without them. It lets me experiment so much more. But I do agree that more options are always better. Some people are purists after all, and hey, that's fine. You can still do that. One thing I see a lot of people complain about is how difficult this game is to 100%, and like, it's about time. Take your time. I never understood this obsession with like pretending 100%ing the game is the only way to enjoy it, and that being too hard for them lessens their enjoyment of it? Like, what? I'm not out here pretending that you haven't beat Mario 3D World if you didn't get to the top of the flagpole with every single character. Like, what does that get you? People might say you get a shiny title screen, or a power-up, or a new level, or a hidden ending or something, but what it really got you is the experience you had doing it, because you chose to, you wanted to. Or at least I'd hope so. Like, I'd hate to force myself to do something I don't want out of obligation. Like, that's so silly to me. You gotta let that obligation go if you want to enjoy this game. Beat it first casually, and then decide if you want to continue to pursue that. The way I see it, Crash 4's collectibles are yet another aspect of player-controlled difficulty. Crash 4 could just be playing all the main levels and seeing the ending, and you can have a blast doing that. But wait, no, you're the kind of person who likes the challenge. Yeah, the hard stuff. You people, you get to keep going. Find those boxes, get the Wumpa Fruit, uncover those hidden gems, and then boom, flashback tapes. Some of the hardest challenges the game's got just for you, because you're the one who wants it. You know what my favorite game to 100% is? I'm not lying when I say this. It's Sonic Adventure 2. Yeah, I know, that game sucks ass to 100%. Doing all those stupid missions, getting all the A ranks, it's something nobody in their right freaking mind would ever want to do. But like, I grew up on it, man. I understand this game thoroughly. I know the levels, I know the Master Emerald placements, I know that hovering right after leaving the ground keeps your upward momentum a little bit and you get slightly more distance and height out of it, and then you can do this with it, see? I know all of these little things because I've experimented with these mechanics my whole life. So give me something more to do with them. In my eyes, 100%ing a game should be a self-imposed challenge to test the very best of your abilities. Abilities that only the people who really like the game are going to develop. develop, just by enjoying it over and over again. For me, that game was Sonic Adventure 2. And for Kevin, it's this game. Kevin, you maniacal, marsupial-obsessed super gamer, how did he do this? 4 times over, too, holy crap, dude. This is a guy who this sort of thing is for. When you like the game this much, you want to master it. But again, there's different degrees of that, bring it only as far as you want to. Those perfect run challenges, for example, while they're a great nod to the original game, they're definitely not going to be worth doing for most people to get 100%. Myself included, I'm definitely not going to bother with that. Maybe you're not going to go that far, but hey, 100% on the other hand, that's got a lot of content to get through. Everything that made the old game so rich with replayability, it's all back in full force. Like the Verted Stages, a brand new take on mirror mode, this time changing up the game's visuals and sometimes even the mechanics. These are really hit and miss for me. Like, some of them are cool as hell, like splashing paint down onto a black and white level to make things clear so you can see where you're going, or using echolocation to map out the geometry. It's a really cool spin on things. The other ones aren't like nearly as cool though, most of them are just visual filters. I think they could have benefited from more inventive mechanics like these ones did, so if they make a Crash 5, I hope that's something they'll do. Oh, and of course, the time trials also make a comeback. Not something I would bother with, but hey, for people that want to zoom through those stages as fast as possible, it is there.
One thing this game really nails is Cortex's character arc. Across the first 3 games, you see like a shift in how he acts. First game, he was like evil, plain and simple. Second game, he gets manipulative, and by Crash 3, he's kind of like, not as into it anymore. And now in Crash 4, he's just so done. He doesn't want to rule the world. He doesn't want to deal with this Bandicoot anymore. Like, dude just wants peace.
So, how was Cortex like in the original sequels, like Wrath of Cortex and onward?
So, basically from Crash 3 and onwards, it just felt like he didn't develop at all.
Yeah.
He was stuck as Crash 3's Cortex.
Okay.
And on top of that, it felt like there was a missing gap with the game that we didn't play. So a lot was just left there that wasn't developed.
That's really interesting. So like, it sounds like Toys for Bob really bounced off of that original character arc that Naughty Dog had in place. That's really cool. Naughty Dog games nowadays are often very character-driven. They got really simple stories, but they're told through very engaging characters. I guess it turns out Crash was no exception. Really amazing seeing Toys for Bob doing such a good job of carrying the torch in that regard as well. I think it goes to show just how thoughtful this studio really is.
I saw Kevin point out they were drawing a lot of the original designs.
Yeah, I saw that too, with people like wishing that's what we got instead. I think people kind of misunderstand why those drawings exist to begin with. The reason they were drawing the characters in their original form so much is because they really want to understand what made those characters work to begin with before they start making changes. This is how you come up with a design that feels like a natural evolution of it, instead of whatever this was. I mean, think about it. You've seen how dissatisfied some people are with some of those redesigns in that Demon's Souls remake. Blue Point definitely didn't do this, but hey, Toys for Bob did, and the result is so much better. Toys for Bob have made such a big name for themselves in recent years. I mean, I guess before they could only really work on whatever Activision would let them, like Skylanders, licensed games. It was a mess. What a waste of good talent. But now that they can work on stuff that they actually care about, you can see the sheer amount of effort they're putting into it. This is a team that legitimately loves the source material, and they want nothing more than to make something that's also worth loving too.
Yeah, dude, like, the options, the content, the everything. I absolutely loved the characters, the level designs, the relationships of the characters, the music. It was thumping, wumping, and bumping, dude. Everything was well taken care of and beautifully crafted.
God, this game's cool.
See, you liked it and you don't even like Crash.
Well, yeah, like exactly. I don't have much context for where these ideas came from, but like, as an outsider perspective and as someone that does like, analyze a lot of platformer games, I do think this is a really smartly designed game. Like, I can't speak for people that are existing fans of the original trilogy and went into this with expectations, but, as somebody that doesn't have that, it is pretty clear to me that they did put a lot of thought and effort into this thing, from like the visuals to the level design to even the movement. I had a blast with Crash 4. I'm still not crazy about the old games, and I'm still not sure if I care enough to visit them someday. Knowing me, I'm more likely to play something stupid like the Jimmy Neutron games or something like that. But if there is one thing I did take from this, it's that I no longer don't get Crash. And that's a pretty cool feeling.
Hell yeah, dude. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, like, I thought it was fantastic, honestly. Man, I just wish people knew how to take it at their own pace,
I mean, yeah, it's like, I'm a huge Crash fan. So I want to complete everything, kind of like Kevin does, but you...
No, like, I don't feel obligated to do that. Like, I might 100% it someday, but for now, I'm pretty content with just, like, beating the game and doing, like, half of the side stuff.
Exactly.
I had a blast doing just that, you know?
Exactly. I mean, it's been how many years? It's about time.
Yeah, exactly. So take your time. Yo, what's up? Thank you so much for watching this one. It was a little bit different. I know I don't know nothing about Crash, but I had Kevin and Brady help out with this video a lot. Like, not only did Kevin just do a lot of artwork for it, but he also knows a lot about Crash. I can't believe he 100%ed it 4 times. Do him a favor, give them both a follow. I'll put their Twitters down below. Brady's Twitch is also down there too. And also, we got a $1 podcast on patreon.com if you want to